Topic number 3, Kyle Shanahan. He spoke yesterday, and I love listening to Kyle Shanahan. As vague as Jimmy Garoppolo is, Shanahan's on the other spectrum. He can't help but give honest, intelligent answers. And one of the most interesting things he talked about yesterday was the preseason. He said, of course, we don't really need it. A lot of our best players aren't going to play anyway, but there are certain things we miss out on. And he was specific. He said, take scouting running backs, for example. How do you know which running backs on your team break the most tackles if there's no tackling? It's an interesting point. So how do you know which running backs should make your final roster if you don't go through preseason? That's a really interesting point. What do you think about his candor when he answers, and in particular with that topic?
I love it. I love it, Iggy. Again, I've never met Kyle Shanahan. My feeling is I would love to cover him. Because I would ask specific and pointed questions. Things, for example, that Steve Kerr never liked to answer, as candid as Steve Kerr is.
Right.
But I think Kyle would like to. He would. They wouldn't be rude questions, but they'd be specific. And I think he would like to answer because he's an honest guy and he likes to think.
Yes.
Bill Walsh liked to think. And I think that Kyle likes to think. And if you ask it in a certain way, he would see it as like being in a classroom. This is really fascinating. Let's see what we can do. I like that about him. Now, what do we learn about running backs? It's a damn good point. You have these preseason games, which, by the way, suck. They universally suck. But as a diagnostic from a coach's point of view, I can certainly see it. Now, one thing is that means because there are no preseason games, and I'm glad there aren't, but it means that practices become really different.
That's right.
They become like games.
Mm-hmm. And Shanahan even said this year, for the first time in his career as a coach, he's going to have live tackling in practice, which I'm looking forward to.
Right, exactly. And by the way, that's how it used to be.
Oh, yeah. Back when you covered, they did that all the time. I don't know if Walsh did that. You would know better than me. I think Walsh was one of the pioneers of doing non-padded practices because he didn't want to wear out his team. But that was the tradition in the league up until about 2008 or 9.
And wasn't Harbaugh like that?
Yes. My first year covering the team was 2011, right after the lockout. They had done no OTAs or minicamp or anything. They just start day one, and all of a sudden they're playing full speed football. I still remember the first day Anthony Dixon ran over Patrick Willis. You remember those two? Patrick Willis was great. Anthony Dixon was kind of just a third string knucklehead, but he was great. But he was a lot of fun. He ran over Patrick Willis, who I don't think was quite expecting all that contact. And so on the next play, there was some football justice. They gave the ball to Anthony Dixon again, and Jim Harbaugh let basically the entire defense jump on him. And then they sat him down for the rest of practice. I think you said, you never do that to Patrick Willis. He matters, you don't. So before they pulled him from practice, they let the entire defense tee off on him. And Anthony Dixon could take it. He's about 240 pounds, but that really happened.
I love football justice. We might wander from the point. Can you bring us back later?
Sure.
Tell the Vernon Davis story.
Yes. It might have been the same day, because what happened was they went from 0 to 60, no practicing to full speed practices, and guys got hurt. They're not going to do that this year. They're going to have a week and a half of lifting and stuff. But first or second day of practice, rookie tight end named Nate Byam tears his ACL. Non-contact, goes down. And for a rookie 6th-round pick, everyone's thinking, well, that's the end of your career, buddy, because you were hanging by a thread anyway. You're a 6th-round pick. And Harbaugh, football is very cold. It's like, sorry, this is war or something like it. And so Harbaugh just blows his whistle and says, everyone over there, like, we have not a minute to spare. We're going to go play, and he'll work out his life on his own. And the entire team goes because it's a military mentality, except for Vernon Davis. He disobeys a direct order from his head coach. He goes right over to the player, kneels down and talks to him, puts his hand on his shoulder while he's in agony until he's carted off the field, which I always stuck out to me because the Niners never made Vernon Davis a captain. And I think they always kind of looked at him as being a little bit of an outsider and not having a football player's mentality. He was an artist, but he was also the best player on the team, and he understood the power he had. And I'm sure it meant a lot to Nate Byam that day, and it stuck with me as a young man.
I was there that day, standing next to you.
Yes, you were.
Yes, I was. It was moving to see what Vernon Davis did. And I really like Vernon Davis. Let's come back to this point. So now this year, practices will be more like games from what they have been, say, under the Shanahan era. And there's a lot at stake and there's a risk of injury. But he has to do it. And what he's almost doing is apologizing in advance if someone gets hurt.
That's right. Because you think about it, in preseason, a lot of times the starters and key players don't play. Right. It's more the opportunity for the backups to make a name for themselves. But theoretically, in camp this year, everyone's going to be tackling and taking hits. And there could be some really good players who get hurt just because they're playing football.
In addition, some of the defensive players, because they're making the tackles.
I mean, even last year when there was no tackling, Nick Bosa really injured his ankle, I believe, and missed 3 weeks. I mean, he missed all of preseason. These things happen, and the likelihood of a more serious one happening this year goes up.
Hey, Nick, would you unblock my kid?
Yeah, what did I do to you? I didn't take any shots about the political tweets you made. It was just about your game, and you're clearly a very good football player. So what do you have against me?
Unblock my kid. It hurts his feet.
One more thing I want to say before we move on about preseason. We talked to Kyle Shanahan about it, and he said what's useful about it. We talked to Richard Sherman today, and he was like, I really don't care. I mean, it stinks for the younger players, but for me, I wasn't going to play anyway. But the thing that I think is so interesting about it is, from my perspective, I'm so happy that there's no preseason games this year. Because from a sports writer's perspective, there is no worse. Well, one of the worst assignments you can get is covering a preseason game. I would say. You have to write a game story about what happened, and it doesn't matter. And they're night games.
They're night games, yeah.
So you're up against a deadline about a game that doesn't matter. Ooh, that's it's not quite covering a parade, but it's like one ring up.
The parade is bad.
Ooh, parade's bad.
Yeah, but it's a night game, and also you're writing about some players who won't even make the team.
Right, all the starters, usually none of them play, or maybe they'll play one series. It's tough.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I used to sort of get sleepy during I'd be up there for preseason games. I got sleepy. Yeah,
I would dread them. Also, this time of year, I would normally be doing 12-hour days in Santa Clara. I'd be waking up at 7, battling that traffic 40 miles south, interviewing people, waiting around, eating on site, watching practice, writing about it, talking about it on Periscope, battling all the cars coming home, traffic, and then doing it again for about 4 or 5 weeks. This year, I don't have to go down there for another 2 weeks and a half. I'm really having a nice time. I like covering from my living room. It's fun.
Right. Your traffic is from your bedroom to your living room.
Yeah, and sometimes my wife gets in my way, but I just honk my horn and then we work it out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not a big traffic jam.
No, it really isn't.